Hi, I'm going to talk about the latest trend and fashion in permanent jewelry. I'm Dana, and I had given this presentation at the recent PJX, the Permanent Jewelry Expo, with regard to the latest fashions in permanent jewelry. And I think before we go right into it, I want to talk about what is it about permanent jewelry that attracts us? Why is it it's a strange phenomenon? What about it? It's certainly exploded in fashion industry. And if we were to know what about it that we find attractive, then we can project and understand what could possibly be in the future, the trends, and better be able to predict it. So I'm going to first talk about what is it about permanent jewelry. It's permanence. And even before permanent jewelry, before in the last maybe 10 years, tattoos have become rather mainstream. It used to be that only certain subset of the population would have that, and you'd either go into a basement or up to the second floor, some sketchy area to get tattooed. But now it is so prevalent that not only do most people that we know who are younger have it, but you can see also at the stores, the boutiques, they're on the main level, and that's a lot of money to be able to pay for rent. So it seems like we're drawn to something that there's a movement towards permanence. And perhaps with so many things that are rapidly changing in society, and also COVID, and you just don't know what is going to happen next, there is a natural attraction towards things that are permanent. But even before COVID, there was quite a bit of that movement. And part of that is commitment. They are signaling trying to express what their beliefs are, what they're committed to. There are so many changes in attitude. One minute, we could be drawn to something else. There's a movement towards this, and then another, it does a 180. And I think we are trying to show our commitment towards something, be it a tattoo design or phrase. There is commitment. And of course, anything to do with fashion also has to do with self-expression, or anything to do with art. And for as long as, since Cleopatra's time, and she had unusual hair and dress, self-expression is something that could set us apart from others, or perhaps set us together with others, that we are expressing our beliefs. So self-expression is another thing. And what is it about permanent jewelry? Sometimes it could be about something that inspires us, either being similar to our idol so that we follow trends, but also we understand that inspiration to be better versions of ourselves, our goals, that has quite an impact on mental health and something to look forward to, something to aspire to. So inspiration is plays a very important role in our lives, meaning, and it could be something that grounds us as well as lifts us. So permanent jewelry really does offer all these things that we desire in currently in our lifestyles. So it's got elevated level of permanence, more than jewelry or a shirt that you can wear. And certainly it's less painful than a tattoo, but it also offers symbol of our commitment to our beliefs. It could be messages or something that reminds us of something that we've made promise to. It is certainly a creative platform for self-expression, and depending on how much layering and how you do it, it's a great platform, a lot of fun. And I'll go into this a little bit more, but there are many uses of it to remind us of our inspirations. Okay, now let's dive right in. The latest trends in permanent jewelry. So I did a video on one of the first things is achievement bracelet. So my daughter, who was 11 at the time, first time going to a swim meet, and I didn't go to her practices because there were odd hours, but it was phenomenal. She had a bunch of gold medals as well as silver and some bronze. So I created an achievement bracelet for her. And so I used gold filled for gold, sterling silver for silver medal, and also rose gold filled for bronze. And I told her, you know what? I want you to wear that to remind yourself of your achievements and to work towards adding to it. Every single time you have get some medals, you can add to it. And by the way, I have to do that too, because her spring swim meet just happened and she got lots more. Now, achievement bracelet can also be a sobriety bracelet, which is similar to goals, anything to do with goals. And when I was at the PJX, someone came up to me and said, that really resonated because she is 4 years sober. And I think many people would understand that, and you would be able to partake in their journey in creating this in as a reminder of their goals. So I think an achievement bracelet, a sobriety bracelet, that would be great. And certainly it will be very popular. People will understand and would appreciate the service if you offered it. The other thing is team bracelet. Now, sometimes you have team logo, mascot. It'd be great if you could get it stamped out somehow. But say if you cannot, you don't have it, and there are many players on this team. This was for my daughter, my eldest, and I think there were 8 or 9, I cannot remember how many team members, but I cut a bracelet for her and you can do this very inexpensively using a chain that is oval with lots of links, so larger links, and we counted 1 oval link per team member, and I cut that length, and basically I used a chain and just did weaving through the chain links, and there is the bracelet. So you can have different plays on that, different members, sorority. So anything that has a certain number, and that would be the most inexpensive, but certainly you can have beads, jump rings. So keep that in mind. That one is very, very easy to do, and certainly the added meaning would be popular. So chain rings. Now, a long time ago, Cartier had chain ring, and it was, I don't know why it was hard. So I know why very few jewelers make chain rings because they're hard. They're hard to do, lots of work with soldering each individual link and processing it. But if you have a roll of chain already, very easily you can do a chain ring. Now, the other thing that is important, an added benefit, is if you had big knuckles like me and there's space, whenever you have a casted ring, once you put it over your knuckle, it's floating about and it's never comfortable. So that's why I don't wear any rings other than the chain ring. But I've recently cut it off because I have to model. But basically, what you do is, if you want a perfectly bespoke ring, it's very easy and you just measure. The trick is to have a thin piece of leather that is not too stiff, so that bounces. If you want an exact size, you want something that is thin. And I've been giving those away with purchase and also with kits. You can certainly email us for some, but you can also make this easily. That is goat skin, English goat skin. It doesn't stretch, it's very thin and it's malleable, so that you can get a very accurate size. And we cut it into a leaf shape. So if you were to cut it into a wedge or anything like that, that would work. If it is a case that you want to be able to take it off, all you have to do is weld it over the knuckle. Otherwise, welding it here where it's going to sit will give you a perfectly sized ring. And as long as the chain link is wide this way and not long, so that in the photo is a chunky ring, a chunky chain, and it's fantastic. It looks really good. If it's a long link, know that it'll sit this way. So you want links that could be long this way but short this way. Okay, they're great. Now, this is a ring bracelet. So basically, you do the ring first and then link it onto a bracelet. It is a lot of fun. You can also add some charms in between. Now, if it is a case that you want to be able to take it off, or your customer wants to do that, simply do rings and then have the centerpiece with 2 spring ring clasps so that they can link onto either side, and it's removable. You can have charms, all sorts of things you can do. Going back, same thing applies to ear cuffs. So stud, you can have a loop, you can cuff it onto the ear cuff, link it onto the ear cuff. You can make them removable, add it on with clasp, or slightly larger welded ring, so that when you're putting your stud in, there's a loop. You put here, put your stud in, then it's locked in, and when you remove it, it's removable. Conversely, you could also attach your chain welded onto the nut in the back. So lots of very creative things you can do. And here is a ring with a connector in the middle. You could have it with gemstone, without, and here is just a bubble form that oftentimes people use for bracelet. You can use it for a ring. And to have it curved, all you have to do is, if you don't have a ring mandrel to shape, that's okay. Take a Sharpie or a highlighter and press the connector onto it. Just slightly, it's slightly malleable if it's all metal, and so you can form it. Layered anklets, I love it. More the better, actually. It's a great deal of fun, especially in the summer. I have a video about what is the best length of chain for an anklet. And I know that people have high top sneakers, which are very trendy. And so sometimes you have it higher at the very narrowest part of the leg before the ankle bone. But know that, and you should just let your customers know beforehand, that with gravity, the chain will come down and you have your Achilles tendon and the muscle in the back. As you flex, it will expand. You'll see the stretching a bit. So what it feels like when you are wearing it is that it feels like there is something grabbing on, and you, just as you walk, you feel a little bit nudging. So know that that is actually in the process of also stretching the chain a little bit. And all chains will stretch, unless they're giant, like anchor or it's a shackle. So know that that is going to stretch. If you don't want the chain to stretch, have something that is below the ankle. I have experimented, and that is a sweet spot right below the ankle bone. What else do we need to know? Also, if your customer, depending on if she's a nurse, so they have to wear compression socks and they're running about, try to get chains that are very flat. So stay away from chains with ball, Rolo, and try things like flat Mariner or very flat chains. That way, with the compression socks, you're not feeling it. Other than that, it's a lot of fun, and you should try it out yourself. And I know that actually sometimes, depending on where you are located, there are people who are worried about boots, getting things caught on socks. I say, I live in Toronto, and I've had, and I wear sneakers, high tops too, and I ride my bicycle a lot. I've not had many problems, and I'm wearing satellite chains. In about 2 or 3 more months, I'm going to cut off the chains and measure to see how much stretching occurred. But I have not found much of a difference in terms of high top versus sandals, whether or not it's uncomfortable, because after a day or two, completely fine. I've gotten used to it. Okay, toe ring. Okay, those are my feet, and I still have, it's been a while, and I still have my paperclip toe ring chain ring, and I love it. It's very comfortable. It's super cute, and I like looking at it. Okay, the only caveat, something to warn you, is perhaps you should insist that they do a pedicure right before you weld on them. Otherwise, you might be taking a risk, but that risk is up to you. Okay, that's also mine. And basically the anklet, I've added a clip to my my toe ring. So you can do that just like the ring bracelet. You can add clasp on it if you wish, and you can have in the summer some motifs. And I would say though that if you were to add beads and so on the top, make sure that you're not wearing running shoes, or where you're going to have to tighten up the laces. I found that when I had bigger beads that were clustered, I didn't want to be tightening. With something flat like that daisy, it was fine, completely. It is so cute when you're wearing sandals. Okay, quite the trend. Men are into this. and they don't need to fidget with a clasp that usually flings to the front, chunky chain. The only thing is, just remember, make sure to ask your chain supplier what jump ring fits the best. If you're using chunky chain, the ring must form over to have both those links together. So the diameter must be big enough to clear 2 of those links. It looks great. And a lot of guys are doing that. The other thing is, it is very hard for men to find bracelets that fit, because you might have a bodybuilder, someone athletic, taller, thicker bone. So there's a much bigger range. And when they are able to find someone who can do permanent bracelets, I find that they're more willing to pay the premium, because it's hard to find out there. And guys are also layering multi, not quite as much as I am layering, but they do like a couple of chunky pieces. And we've gotten a number of customers who tell us that, who are asking for thicker chains because their customers are coming back wanting more layers. Okay, this is one of my favorite things. Quilt bracelet. Okay, so basically a quilt bracelet is, you can get sections of leftovers that you can pre-weld into a long length of chain, and know that whoever buys it, no one else will have the same thing. The other thing that could happen is you can have one section that is single strand, and then the other, like in this picture, the others are double stranded. And it could be multi-strand with a single strand. You can go as eclectic as you want, and it's beautiful. And also, I'm frugal. I don't waste not, want not, and you can have your leftover bits. Two-tone, I love two-tone, and because it's eclectic, and also actually with two-tone, you can wear, there's gold that can go with all of your warmer tones, and then there's silver that could pick up whatever other jewelry you're wearing. So it's a lot more versatile. And also, I find that it's more interesting, and you have better conversation pieces. I love the combination of oxidized brushed sterling silver with gold. You see that picture? It is so rich. It's like black and gold has a different level of richness. And how you can make the oxidized silver is you can purchase silver blackener, and I think I have a video on YouTube here where you can dip and then use steel wool or something abrasive, wrap around it, and just pull on the chain. There's liver of sulfur. It takes a little longer, and it's not as black as Jack's silver blackener. And I like the effect. Now, the other thing is, if it is the case that your customer with a sterling silver bracelet, permanent bracelet, has gone to a sulfur spring, and it only takes about 10-15 minutes sometimes for it to go completely black for the silver. And what you can do is brush it lightly, relieve it, because then it gives an antique silver kind of look. Then add gold, and you have something beautiful like that. And next up, fidget ring, especially for kids with anxiety or ADHD. You know, when I was younger, people say, oh, my parents would get upset. Don't fidget. Well, now studies have shown actually fidgeting helps reduce anxiety and provides an outlet for kids with ADHD. And so you have the fidget spinner, and you have things, twisty things that are specifically for anxious kids to help them. It's an aid, anxiety aid. So I think this is something that's great. If you have something that can roll to the back so that no one, they can hold on to it and no one can see it. In this photo, I have Amazonite, and it doesn't matter whether or not you believe it. Certainly, if there are people who believe in healing properties of crystals, amethyst for physical healing. There is aquamarine, Amazonite, which is a throat chakra, the blue, which helps a person find their voice. If they're nervous, unable to speak up for themselves, that is something that could help. And at the very least, it would be a reminder of something for them to help ground them, give them strength. So I really think this is something that is helpful and will gain popularity in the future. So anything, like I was saying, anything that represents them, that can super personalize the jewelry will always be very popular. So if you had a permanent bracelet that has a number of siblings, their birthstones, family tree, those things will always be very popular. Okay, here, if you were in an area where there are tourists, like for instance, the plumeria, that's a hibiscus for Hawaii. They also have plumeria. You can have, depending on where you can have the whale if you're in California, lobster if you're in Maine. So all sorts of cactus if you're in Arizona. So anything that could be a souvenir, you can attach it to their current bracelet. So have those handy if you are in an area with tourists. Now, the reverse could be true. If you're not in an area of tourists, but you have regular clientele who like to travel, or collect things, they can take souvenirs home, and you can find ways of attaching their souvenir onto the permanent bracelet or a necklace. But make sure that they abide by the local rules, because there are some places where you are not allowed to take anything away from the beaches. So be careful of that. And also let them know if they're going to hunting for seashells, it's okay for the ones with a little dot hole, because that makes your life a lot easier just to add the jump ring. And you can also do the same thing with resin. If they were to bring home dried flowers or a bit of sand, or even if it's not souvenir, they have something that means something to them. You can also put in resin or put in a little box and do that. So allow them to have a keepsake. And the other thing is, with regard to shells, if they were to buy the shells at the location in the souvenir area where they are, I think usually the law is that they can bring it home. Okay, this is really good. Promise bracelet, and once you reach your goal, you can cut it off. So instead of adding to the goal once you get to a certain level, this is, okay, we're going to hunker down. This is from now until then, it is going to be difficult. It's a good reminder that what I'm working for. And when you reach it, you can cut it off. So like studying, graduation, weight loss, making it to a team, training, etc. So once you reach a goal. The other thing is engagement, marriages, so engagement, you weld it on, and then thereafter, when the wedding, you cut it off, and you can then weld half of each other's bracelet onto to form new ones. There are so many things that you can do. Bold chains on women is a huge trend, and lots of layering. I myself, I love my, can you see? My thick chain. So I mixed thick and thin, but chunky layers. It's fantastic. Symbols, mother and daughter, so large and small or twos. The other thing is, you don't actually even have to, it doesn't have to cost a whole lot. If you find any sort of chain that has larger link, you can just cut 2 links and that there is your symbol right there. But that is very, very popular. This one is also sliding beads. You can have Morse code, so gold and silver Morse code. And in this case, I made this bracelet, these 2 bracelets for my daughter, my eldest. So they're 3 sisters. So those are siblings, and secret code in there. Oh, someone asked me, how difficult is it to weld such a fine thing? And it takes a little bit of practice, but Sunstone has come up with their PJ welder, which has increments of half joule starting with 1 joule. So it gives you a lot of precision and it's very easy. I have a video on how I did that. And basically if it's very fine, you just ball one side. So you use your electrode to just zap one side, and it'll ball up a little bit. Same thing with the other. So now you have more surface area. Then you weld the strand together like this. And then if it becomes a larger ball, you can just flatten it with a pair of pliers. It is very, very secure. My daughter ended up breaking that, I think 9 months later. She had it caught in a door handle, a lever, and she was walking, and it did not break on where I welded it. So there's so many things you can do with beads and threading. So this is a service that you need to advertise this. It's a great idea that you can take family heirloom, for example. Daughter has her dad's ring. It's not going to fit her even on her thumb, or grandmother's baby ring, and it's not going to fit right now. You can take that and use that as your connector or pendant, and just having jump rings on either side welded onto your chain. You can have it for a necklace or a bracelet, and it becomes a unique keepsake. And also very interesting pieces. Another trend is having layers of frames and charms overlapping. So now you build your own pattern. It's great to have birthstones within that. Okay, eclectic mix. Yes, the more weird, wild, the more interesting. Conversation pieces, conversation starters at parties, and at the PJX, I noticed that there are women who are only wearing one or two. You should have lots and lots. It's a lot of fun, and it could also all have personal meaning. The wilder, the better. So another thing is engraved ID bracelets. There are blanks, stamping blanks out there. You can engrave, you can stamp messages, and it could be messages underneath, and it would have meaning to the person wearing it. Another thing is fine necklaces welded on, since you're wearing it anyway, but the clasp doesn't fall to the front. It's fantastic. More and more people are doing that. Body chain, lots of body chain everywhere. In this case, belly chain. Oh, I had some people say, well, that's not very practical. No, not very practical. However, it will keep you from having that big meal. And it could be your reminder for weight loss. Anyway, so you can have a clasp, and certainly with a necklace. In this case, I did a belt chain, and then when I was welding the necklace, I used a larger jump ring. So then there's a clasp. The middle section is a double-ended clasp, and it can clip. Lots of fun, especially during beach season. Now I have to say, this is not permanent jewelry, but it is certainly the trend towards the next thing in jewelry welding. And that is, you'll see that already very popular are just layering of fine chains necklaces. Some people are wearing 6, 7 at a time. And every single one needs to be in a certain place. The things that you buy out there over the counter, they have extension chain that you can adjust, but it flips to the front. And they're usually in double digits, so 16, 18, 20, and so on, but not exact. And what if you're taller? Obviously, or you're an athlete, you will have a stronger, bigger neck. So having something that, and I don't know what the word is, having something that is custom tailored with a clasp, but custom tailored is so important. And it used to be with fine chain. I've been in the jewelry business for a long time. You would have to send it to goldsmith. Is non-trivial to weld with fine chain because the flame will melt it unless you're wire wrapping, and it would take a long time to get done. But now you have the possibility of having something exactly measured for them so that it sits exactly where they want. If someone is chestier or whatnot, you can adjust it. It's fantastic. That is going to be the next thing. Everybody will demand that. The super customization is going to be a thing. And be it jewelry store, if you're welding permanent jewelry, have clasps. It is going to be necessary. You will be able to provide great service. There's going to be huge demand. Okay, well, that concludes my presentation on the latest permanent jewelry fashions. I'm a wholesaler of premium quality chains and findings for permanent jewelry as well as traditional jewelry. I'm going to put some information about our company as well as the Orion micro welder that I've used in making the permanent jewelry in all of my permanent jewelry videos. And I hope you have found this to be useful.